So as Mingo and I stated before in the video regarding Phase 2 of the Revivalist project, Phase 2 will focus directly on problems in PB2 regarding the gameplay, community, etc. This is our first topic regarding such matters, and we hope later on we can discuss among ourselves probable solutions to this issue. Here's how this system will work. The first post will introduce the problem, alongside what we believe are the root causes to them. Consider it as a mission briefing, if you like. From there, we hope that replies coming in will either agree or disagree with our stance, and add feedback regarding the matter. At the end of each week or so, we will compile up what people have said and reach certain conclusions. The cycle repeats as we continue to hammer down on our own thoughts to make a potentially perfect model. Our first topic of order will be the ranking system. We decided to start with this heavy topic because it is something of heavy debate over the past few months in the community. The ranking system is an integral part of the PB2 community. For many people, it gives them something to strive for. This means removing it will be out of the question if we wish what is best for the entire, if not majority, of the community. Here are basic overviews of two major issues we would like to discuss first and then expand on. The most common issue stated with the ranking system is the farming. Farming has become such a problem with the current ranking system that it is considered an offense to staff. And why shouldn't it be considered that? Simply put, farming is the easiest, most universal way for players to cheat the system. The second issue comes from the fact that the PP system simply does not serve as an accurate indicator of skill. It has become nearly impossible to gain PP from players, as most of them tend to have none. Because of this, it becomes a hassle for higher level players to move up the ranking list without intentionally baiting other high level players into combat to gain their PP. But of course, even that prospect is uncertain. Here's our hypothesis as to why this is happening. The reason why a functional ranking system cannot be properly implemented into PB2 is because the credibility of the ranking systems ultimately rely on one major fact: matchmaking. A ranking system cannot be considered even half credible if the people playing the game have so much freedom to the point where they can choose what games they wish to join, what maps, which players to fight, and when to leave. If you're getting your ass kicked by someone who might be of equal or slightly higher skill level than you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to leave so you can play another match against lower level players. Gert realized this problem, hence tried changing the original KD system into the PP system. Why? Because the PP system was supposed to work as an artificial matchmaking system. PP served as a means of promoting players to fight others at their level or beyond. If you tried to prey on lower level players, the losses you'd make in one death would potentially outweigh the gains in 5 kills, whereas you'd gain a fair amount of PP fighting those who truly challenge you. All this does, however, is frustrate higher level players even further. Higher level players now have to be cautious of what matches they choose to join, because they would gain practically nothing in a match against players that have less PP than them. After all, it's not like you can choose what specific time certain people come into a certain match, so you find that such players hop around games. The consequences of this are severe. Maps are easily abandoned, and PP becomes the only thing that matters to players, rather than having actual fun. We are also certain this has highly contributed to the toxicity we are seeing today. Players well known for their positions on the leaderboards are more likely to get upset after dying, considering how scarce gaining PP is nowadays. So some probable solutions to this? Unfortunately, it's hard to say in this case. As stated before, a ranking system doesn't work because there is no matchmaking. Getting rid of the ranking system will only amputate one major factor in PB2. Implementing matchmaking is impossible too, since there are so few players available online. You'd have to wait longer to set up one match in PB2 than the Master Chief Collection on its launch day. But if this problem is not fully solvable, at the very least, there are reasonable ways to lower the effects. One way is resetting the PPs of all players every 2 to 3 months. Now, this may upset many of you, especially those who have long held a position on the leaderboards, but suffice to say that it's practically impossible to move up anywhere in the top 20 thanks to the current system. Doing this change will allow all players to have a chance on being at the top 100 list. It will be more geared towards rewarding the improvement of skill in players rather than the self-preservation techniques in abandoning games. Another suggestion is to make players who have less than a certain amount of kills ineligible to gain or lose PP. The reason for this is to ensure that lower level players who may get a few lucky shots onto a higher ranking player won't bomb their PPs, as well as to ensure that high ranking players won't feast on low ranking players who have an unusual amount of PP. During this time, these players can stockpile player points from others without losing their own. So once they are eligible to get on the ranking system, they will have a set amount of player points to start with. The kill requirement should perhaps be set to about 1,000 kills. From there, players can start gaining or losing PP, but will not be eligible to reach the top 100. Then, once the player scores 2,000 to 3,000 kills, they are eligible in being on the top 100. This is to ensure that players won't be bloated with PP once they meet the first requirement and unfairly advance on the leaderboards. Are these solutions perfect? Of course not. We're hoping you guys can tear these ideas apart and help rebuild new thoughts with your own personal experiences. This is not absolute. Every reply from here will build up the foundation to a potentially powerful idea that can help make this game a more enjoyable place for the community. Please leave feedback or criticism whenever possible. And if you're reading this or listening to this, Gert, please consider these ideas. If they are too late to implement into PB2, then perhaps these problems from before can be rectified in PB2.5 with a little more support. Thank you.